Thank you to everyone for joining us tonight and welcome. My name is Joy. I'm the editor at C Magazine, joined by co-editor Mendek, who's supporting the tech today behind the screen. I'm really excited to introduce this convo between artist Aubin Soonhwan K and Christian Vistan. Aubin's floor drawing series vibrantly opens the pages of C's current issue that's themed Mirror Mirror. It's the artist project, who's closely curated and appearing alongside text by Christian. Please note that we're recording the session and the video will also be available online for sharing, in case you know interested people that couldn't make it. So I am speaking from C Magazine's office in Toronto, Tekaronto, the traditional territories of the Mississaugas of the Credit, Anishinaabeg, Haudenosaunee, Huron-Wendat, Chippewa, and continual home to Indigenous peoples from Turtle Island. We hold the significance of being in a relationship to place and ask audiences to think of how they got to where they are in our ever interlaced histories, whether that's home for you or elsewhere, especially as we know that Canada is part of ongoing global and violent settler colonial projects. We aim to stay continually vigilant and acting against racist engines of covert and overt erasure. Today's conversation arises out of C Magazine's artist projects. They usually open and close each themed issue with new commissioned works by an artist working closely with a curator and writer. The goal of this is to have another platform for artists to experiment, and specifically within the magazine format. These projects usually span the first 6 and last 2 pages of the magazine, so effectively bookending the whole issue and everything that comes in between. And that leads us to now, where for each issue, we invite a curator who chooses an artist to collaborate with. In the Mirror Mirror issue, which has this great cover that's from a documentary from filmed by the Hong Kong documentary filmmakers. Aubin's drawings open this issue, and they here, as Christian writes, engage writing as a physical act in the spectrum between script and drawing that moves toward gesture beyond just linguistic marks. What caught me is in this project was the material process of this translation of turning writing into gesture, which also relates to the translation of this idea of self and ego, maybe in the written word into something that's questioning itself. And as Christian elaborates on, these are a collection of Aubin's diaristic digital drawings and phone notes translated into vinyl stencils, then transformed into physical artworks by paint filling those negative spaces. Aubin's drawings and writings are further stenciled on panels of Hanji Jagupan, a floor panel found in Korean homes that's made of laminated sheets of mulberry paper. And Christian further writes, inscribed on this layered surface, the diaristic, the artistic, and the domestic meet. And we're looking forward to diving more into this work. We will have about 15 minutes of Q&A at the end and an open chat as well if you want to pop any questions, comments, or points of curiosity into that as we go along. And without further delay, I'll hand this conversation over to Aubin and Christian.
Thank you, Joy.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Mandeep.
Thank you, Mandik.
And thanks to everyone for coming this evening. Yeah, I wanted to start by reading, or I wanted to start with Oven and I reading some epigraphs, or I'm gonna read some epigraphs from my text, and Oven will read his poem. yeah, yeah, I think the writing is like a big part of this project. So um we wanted to start by kind of yeah, like saying some of these texts that were really important to the project. So I'll start by reading some Joan Didion. Of course, I stole the title for this talk from George Orwell. One reason I stole it was that I like the sound of words. Why I write. There you have three short, unambiguous words that share a sound, and the sound that they share is I. In many ways, writing is the act of saying I, of imposing oneself upon other people, of saying, listen to me, see it my way, change your mind. And then later she writes, but there's no getting around the fact that setting words on paper is the tactic of a secret bully, an invasion, an imposition of the writer's sensibility on the reader's most private space. And then the second paragraph I wanted to read is by Fred Moten from a poem called The Red Sheaves from this book, Perennial Fashion, Presence Falling. This poem is about the paintings of Jenny C. Jones in its minimal abstract paintings. Yeah, and this is also featured in my text. The book is a three-dimensional scene of our infinitely rich and more unruly three-dimensional jam. Don't feel bad. It's a volume and a room, but the page is a plane. It's just plain, brocaded non-locale, spread out from our turning through a kind of rising, past the term of that lonely binding into anopolymer, the bright red extent of our reach beyond grasping. Is what abstraction supposed to give, what imaginary numbers give, in how we work through little play complexities by obstruction, so we get to go through someplace else.
Wow.
It's your turn.
I will read my poem that was included in the magazine. I'm just going to share the writing because I think it's as much a visual experience as it is listening. Let's share. Okay. What Joan stole from George is why I write. I. Why write, draw? Writing's drawing because he wrote with his torpor fingers as best as he could on iPhone, his monograms, drawing writings in February, March, in bed, work. No thoughts other than fear of change, but still able to draw, but not write, but this is a space left for me. That's a line, that's a line, that's a story, that's a space rectangle, that's a hole. It read drawing on yellow with abstracts of shape and lines and back and forth. Bye bye.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thanks for reading that. Yeah, I guess I wanted to start asking you about the Joan Didion text. Yeah, like how did that text like enter your practice? I feel like it's like something that we talk about and reference like every couple of years. So yeah, I wanted to know how it came into your life, and then just like kind of as like a provocation and like play on the title. I wanted to ask, why do you write? Why did you write? Why write?
Okay. I think I came across, so when I was working at the bookstore at Emily Carr, I think I just picked up a book and saw this phrase, what Joan or why I write I. And I thought at the time it seemed so solipsistic, like to think about like frame everything as like me, I.
Mm.
Um, but then it was like kind of interesting because like she stole it from George Orwell, but so like this idea of like I is already something stolen. Um, and yeah, I think we talked about it quite a bit, and it's always like I've thought about this for a long time. Um, but to me, I always like as soon as I read it, I thought about like painting or drawing, like why I paint, because I'm not
Mm.
a much of a writer, but I kind of relate it to my painting practice. Um, and also the fact that I think the question why is my least favorite form of questioning. Like as soon as you ask why, I think it's just like it opens up a whole thing that like inhibits your working a lot.
Mm.
Um, so instead of like answering that, I just wanted to also steal that and to make something out of it. Um, yeah, so I was thinking about this a lot. And then what happened first? Did you ask me to
How do
participate in this project?
Yeah, I asked you to contribute a project to this. You have to like Joy's invitation. Um, yeah, and then yeah, I guess at the time you were like working on some of those paintings on the yeah, it was like a new process for you. Um, yeah, but yeah, and I guess like I am interested in this idea of the I, or like yeah, the way that you speak about the solipsism of the I. And I think in your poem, um, there's this kind of negation. There's like a
Mm,
negation of the I, or like a like where the I don't yeah, I guess like I read your poem a lot and kind of was trying to figure out yeah, just like trying to do like a close reading of it, but yeah, it felt like the I was this thing that was like continuously being transformed.
mm,
Um and like yeah, like the I, it's like the I kind of it's like the person making the line is the like the line is the person. Like there's this kind of I feel like essentializing of a self happening
mm,
via like what is being produced. I don't know. I think I'm like really interested in like
yeah.
that collapse between like a gesture that comes out of a person and then like the posture of like a whole body and how um yeah, how like a gesture can sum up a person or like
Mm,
that kind of I feel like that was something that's to me like that's something that I read
mm,
in your text and maybe in the drawings as well in like how you were using
yeah.
the line. But I think this is like kind of to me um it's yeah, I feel like I maybe like this would yeah there's like this like other reference that's like really important to the project, which is like um
Let's
your
talk about the
dad's.
references.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about the references.
Yeah, I think I have to talk about, let's just get it out of the, I think,
Yeah, your dad's
at
writing.
the, yeah, I think at the time, so my dad had, he passed away from ASL a few years ago, and I was visiting him in Korea every year. Um, and then every year was visiting him, he was getting progressively worse. And then there came a point where he couldn't communicate anymore. And um, but he was really stubborn about his refusal to communicate through like visual assistance. Like there's these charts that you can use. But he just like didn't want to use it. He just wanted to like speak, but he wasn't able to. Um, and then I saw his frustration. And then one day I just asked him to write what he wanted to say on my iPhone. So I handed over my iPhone, and he started to write words on my phone. And then he wrote few versions, but a lot of like there were I still have them on my iPhone, but I could recognize the characters, but I couldn't re like understand what he meant. Um, and that had like a really big impact on me. This kind of being able to read it, but not um, it's like it's readable but not legible. Um, and then I think when we started to talk about this project, I was thinking about writing and drawing, um, and like kind of two things like going back and forth, translating from one another. So that was kind of a point of start for me was his like I call them drawings, but they're writing.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I think that just between like writing and drawing, drawing to writing, and then like it as it's getting translated, it loses meaning, and it like made me think of abstract.
Hmm.
So I learned about abstraction out of my father's illness.
Right. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think yeah, that's like why to me like kind of like when I read when I encountered like the that Fred Mountain poem, there's like a line in it that like really to me kind of like spoke to like that um experience. And it's like the line that's like the bright red extent of our reach beyond grasping.
Mm,
Um, and I think yeah, that phrase like the reach beyond grasping to me is like kind of sums up to like it makes me think of like your experience with your dad, but also just like this idea of like trying to like understand something that's like beyond like your capacity, your like
mm,
kind of cognitive capacity, like that's like, but like there's still, I don't know, it's still like about like the effort to reach
mm,
for something that's like beyond like what you can kind of grasp and hold and understand. Um, yeah, like I
mm,
thought that was like a really beautiful way to um describe that experience, but and also like kind of but he's talking about painting. Like
mm,
he's talking about like looking at Jenny C. Jones paintings, and those paintings themselves have like music as like a big part of it. Um
mm,
so like I think there's this, yeah, just like a lot of like
mm.
um translate different kinds of like translation, and that's
Yeah.
yeah part of this reaching beyond one's grasp.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think this writing had this or project had full of like a lot of like I guess we call them quotations, but like things we reference to.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about reference like how you were thinking about Fred Moten. When I was writing my thing, I was thinking a lot about um like different things, and like even my dad was like an inspiration for this. And I thought about um using like a visual cue asterisk to kind of refer to things, and even the writing itself, like it has like asterisk in every place, different places to like refer. Like the writing is actually like uh indexed into like three things,
Mhm.
and I like reference those things at like different people. And that writing process seemed really similar to drawing. So I was like drawing on my phone a lot when I first moved out here to Guelph on my phone because I didn't have a lot of supplies. So when I was like drawing on my phone, I was like I would often think about like other people, and I would use like asterisk to
Mm,
kind of mark that it came from something else.
I see.
How like that quote like George Orwell, and then
Yeah,
went
yeah,
to
yeah.
Joan Didion and came to me.
Yeah.
And so I like put all these like asterisks into the writing.
Hmm. They're
And
like
then
placeholders.
yeah, and then I think you saw that those asterisks in my writing and thought of something else. How did you understand them?
Yeah, I thought of this thing called I, it's a really funny word. It's called a dinkus. It's like a what is it? It's like an ornamental literary um a literary ornament that's like put in between paragraphs. Um and it like indicates like a change of scene, a change of place.
Mm,
Um yeah, it's basically like a kind of like a jump from one kind of situation into another. Um yeah, but that's like specifically when there's three of them is
yeah.
that. But like I thought that like how you use the asterisk even like as like placeholders, but like just how they like split up the stanzas in your poem. I feel like there was this kind of, I don't know, like a jump from like one into another, like in scene or time. But um and I'm like really interested in like that kind of uh that jump from scene to
Mm,
scene or time to time in relation to like this like the definition of abstraction that's like about like removal and like kind
mm,
of like you abstract when you're like abstracting something from something else, you're like getting further and further away from
mm,
the like object of origin. um yeah, and it felt like I don't know, even like the way that like this that the asterisks and the stars like were like accumulating, like there's like one and then there's two, there's three, there's like increasing distance from like the place that you started from
mm,
um to like the place that where you end up or like where you're gonna
mm,
end up, because there's no yeah, who's to say it doesn't,
mm.
there's like not more stanzas that you're writing, but
And I
yeah,
think we talked about that, like distance was one of the first things we talked about.
yeah.
And I think even all these like references, like Fred Moten, John Didion, and like even I was like thinking a lot about Jeffrey Camp because he has this book called How to Draw, and I was like drawing from his book because it's about how to draw, and a lot of drawings came from that.
Mm,
But as like I kept like redrawing them, and then like through the process of this project, like scanning and then like translating into another, like it kept getting more farther away from the original thing.
yeah.
And then we talked about distance in the beginning of this project, and I don't know why or where I heard or if I said it or someone else said it, but Uh, like I was thinking a lot about distance as like a tool to create um like abstract meaning. Like you're creating distance from understanding a thing.
Mm.
So like negating language and to reduce it down to experience. Like when I read my dad's like handwriting, like I couldn't understand it, and that like made it so that I could like when I was reading his handwriting or his drawing, I kind of was appreciating as a like aesthetic drawing because I
Yeah.
couldn't understand it, and it was so
Mhm.
like nice to look at.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, I feel like I think you were like attuning to like a different register
mm,
of like, or like I think there's like, I don't know. I feel like the just his gesture had like multiple registers, and I think the like kind of most listenable or like audible or understandable register is like language. But I think beyond that, there's like something else that you can reach for,
yeah,
that is like not the immediate, um, yeah, language. Um, yeah, I'm just trying to think if I have any more thoughts about distance. I usually do. I really like um
creating distance,
creating distance. I mean, I feel like it's like inevitable, you
right?
know. Like I think things are always you're always like getting further and further from your reference.
Yeah,
And but okay, the thing I really think about that actually is that I think the reference is like not stable often to
right.
me. Like I think the thing that I'm thinking about is also like always changing. Like I
Mm,
feel like, but that's yeah. I mean, I think it's like a little bit different in like when there's like an actual like text or something that but like if it's like a person or a place or an object in the world, I think I'm like interested in kind of like the person thinking and the object of thought, how
mm,
they're like both have agency and they're changing. Um,
constantly change.
yeah, but yeah, should we talk about um
Process.
yeah, some of the process? I think yeah, like I feel like it's really important in the project because even like it's like was conceived so
Mm,
materially,
mm,
like the I don't know if people noticed, but the actual pages in the like the paintings that you made were like actual size, so like
mhm.
they're the same size as the magazine. But yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
I think so. When you asked me to like work on this project together, I think so. I had the Joan Didion quote in the back of my head. I had my dad's writing drawings in the back of my head, but I also had I had bought these Hanji flooring, which is as Joey explained, it's basically like flooring material used in Korea. It's just layers of uh papers, tiles. And I had bought them from Korea and brought it here without knowing what to do with them. And I bought them because I was like really interested in the that material. I was trying to make it at one point, but I like it was just like too difficult. And it was so affordable to buy in Korea, so I just like bought a whole bunch. Um, and then I was also, like I said, like drawing on my phone a lot. Um, and I had this idea to make prints with this flooring material because it just like seemed to make like it's a flooring, but essentially it's just a piece of paper. Yeah. And it just made a lot of sense to uh like print make and it just like sounded so good. Like it
mm,
like oh I can make I even tried like painting on it, but it like didn't work out. I just didn't like how it looked. Um And then maybe I can show here, I'll share my process photos and the struggles. Can you see? What do you,
Yes. We
okay.
see like a toilet paper thing.
So that was one of the tests. So that was the poem. Um, and that was like, how did I make that? That was like stenciled. So all the drawings and all the, not just the writing, I was trying to translate into this Hanji flooring, and I was failing miserably. And then at one point, I realized that I could print it reversed or mirrored. And then if you looked at it from the back, looked, it was legible, and it just like really like fit in with the theme, which was mirror, mirror. So I was making all these like uh vinyl stencils of all the drawings I was doing and trying to do some sort of printmaking, and then it was just proving to be harder and harder, and it's like hard to read. This is another flooring material. And these are all the like all the tests. Oh, and another thing was that I was adamant about using oil-based ink because the papers are lacquered, and the like anything water-based or acrylic or anything like that don't really stick to it. And then this was just like it was like you know smudging everywhere, and
Yeah, slippery.
yeah, and then I think
It
I
didn't want
took
to
this
be understood.
yeah, and then I was like texting you a lot at the time, and I was like really frustrated, and it was like getting the deadline was getting close, and I was just getting frustrated, and I was like, and then I thought about like why do I have to print them?
Yeah.
Um, and I started just spray painting it, and it just felt so liberating.
Yeah.
And these are the spray paints and I was just like, yeah, like kind of the parameters that I set for myself, which was that it must be printed, it must be of drawings, it must be of ink based, or sorry, oil based ink.
Hmm.
I thought those were like such an arbitrary things that structure that I set for myself. And
Yeah.
um,
But I get why you decided them though, because they were like choices that felt
yeah,
natural to the material. I feel like you were like kind of trying to um yeah, like attune to like the material that you were working with, by like using oil because of the lacquer. Like you were like trying to like
yeah,
think with it. But I think that maybe, yeah, it's like interesting that there was like friction between
yeah,
you and the material when you were like trying so hard to be like on the same like wavelength as this paper, but like it clearly didn't
yeah.
want to be like fucked with.
And yeah, it's like not so like I've been saying this phrase, but like I was like, okay, yeah, making sense and making like sense of like a certain structure didn't feel good, but
Hmm.
then doing whatever I want and like feeling good really made sense to me.
Yeah.
So I continued doing this, and then I even made more drawings, and uh I even made like bigger pieces which weren't part of but it's like kind of like came from that,
Hmm.
these bigger ones. Anyways,
Nice. Yeah, I think it's like, yeah, I think there's like something really awkward about the combination of like spray paint and like mulberry
yeah,
paper. It's just
yeah,
so, but like somehow like when you look at it, it does, like it makes sense and maybe even
yeah,
feels like harmonious or something. Um, yeah, yeah, like the making sense and the feeling good or like
Yeah.
yeah, and how they're kind of sometimes not the same thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And
yeah.
yeah, the spray painting was like it's a complete opposite of printmaking. Like I feel like I've tried printmaking a couple times and I just get frustrated every time because it's such a laborious process
Yeah.
to do really small thing. And spray paint was so immediate. And like I
Hmm.
didn't it was so like I don't know. Someone described it as this nasty material on this like precious paper.
Yeah. Who said that?
Uh one of the people here. Yeah. But I even like that kind of like I don't know, like yeah, treating something like so precious. Like why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like clogging up the pores
Yeah.
of the floor. Um yeah. Like I really like also the way that to me like that yeah the paper, the floor paper like
Mm,
evoked. I feel like when we were talking earlier too, you were like were interested in this idea of like drawing on the floor.
mm,
And like that gesture. And to me, like that evokes like such like horizontality and like just like imagine like a when you picture someone drawing on the floor, I think you're really like picturing not just a hand, you're like picturing like someone's like whole body being involved because they're like on their stomach and and like just like thinking of like also the posture of someone laying down and drawing.
mm,
Um, yeah, I guess I like the way that I think I like spoke about this earlier, but the way that with like when the um gesture gets translated onto this like horizontal plane, there's like it's like the gestures become like more embodied and more like it like
mm,
involves your whole body and and I think that there's like so much in the drawings or
mm.
drawings paintings that you have um like I was like thinking about like how so much of them depicted the whole body and they're like each person in these drawings have like a they're like have like a their
Yeah.
expressions are made with their whole body and not just like with their face. Like
Mm,
there's like kind of like a really like holistic or like a yeah, it's
yeah.
like it's a whole gesture instead of just like I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that to me that goes back to this idea of like the eye in writing and like
Yeah.
um yeah, the eye as something that is it's just this giant
Just
thing.
yeah, like I think when I was drawing on my phone, the most important thing was to not think about anything. And weirdly, phone's really good at doing that. Like we're so used to like just mindlessly scrolling. Like when you're on your phone, you kind of just like get in
Yeah.
this automatic. Um, and I love how forgiving it is, like
Mhm.
using phones. It's like every gesture is so like equally weighted
Yeah.
almost. Um, and that made the whole process just like really like also the fact that it was a phone. Like I think about like how it might have been different if it was like even like a iPad or something, like even bigger surface would have
Mhm.
been different. But I think it's just like having this like yeah, tiny little thing that you draw, you constantly zoom in and out, like gave so much like freedom.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. And like I think these are drawings that like I could say that I really didn't think about anything.
But you obviously felt a lot. working
I
on them,
felt
maybe.
I guess so. And I think at the end it just like kind of made sense.
Yeah,
So yeah, like I felt good about doing it, which at the end made sense to me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, should we? I feel like I don't know. Do
Let's
you do you have a question for me, or we could open it up to like questions
we
from
can
other
open it up.
people?
Yes. Um, I have a question for you. Maybe I have a question for you.
Yeah, maybe you can start the Q&A with a question for me.
What prompted you to think about Fred Moten's quote when you first read my poem?
When I mean, I just like I don't know. I do this thing where I like carry like 4 books in my bag at all times,
Do you have
and
like
they
a book for different occasions? Like one before sleeping, one for like transportation, one for
right. I mean,
reading before a date or something.
they're all for um carrying. Yeah, no, they're like I'm very like inconsistent and kind of like jumping around from book to book. But I think actually like I think I the Fred Moen came in because you were talking about like this pun about like red, the color red, and the
Mm,
word red, like as in the past tense of reading. And he uses that pun in that text. Like or like there's like he says bright red, but it's
mm,
spelled READ.
mm,
Like that was kind of like the entry point into
mm,
yeah. And then like I just like the kind of the way that he's speaking about painting as like this like really literary thing, I thought really mirrored the really hard thing that I was attempting to do, I think, which was like
mm.
writing about your work, which I think is never yeah, I think like writing about visual things isn't like the easiest thing. And especially like in prose, where like you have yeah, maybe this is like a way that like I relate to you, like where I think like essay writing is like you have to make sense and it
Right.
doesn't and that doesn't necessarily always feel good. Um,
Oh.
I think or like I feel like a lot more comfortable like expressing in like
Mm,
way in like more like meandering and like yeah, like ways of writing without like a specific like endpoint, so
but your
yeah.
writing for the piece was still, I feel like a bit digressive. I think you also do a jumping thing, like how you incorporate
Yeah,
dinkus and you
yeah,
jump from yeah,
from
and
a
that made
different
sense and it must have felt good. No?
that made sense and that must have felt good. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of interested in like this parallel play or something where you're like, I don't know, because like you were thinking about your dad's drawing and you were like yourself drawing, thinking about his drawing. And
Mm,
then I was like typing, thinking like, I was like kind of like 3 hands removed, thinking about like that original gesture. Um, yeah, I guess I mean yeah, digression is I try to like be open to it, but I think I also tried to like
mm.
not stray too far. Um
Right. And
I
Fred
don't think
Moten's
I don't
was
think I strayed too far. But Fred Moen was the farthest.
oh farthest. I thought I was
Or
gonna say maybe there was like your point of like Fred Moten to you was like my dad to me.
maybe. Well, I feel like no, because Fred because well, I feel like I was like using Fred Moen to like understand like what you were doing.
Oh, I see.
So, yeah, like he even, I don't know, like I just think that this like page in this book is like, because he also talks about like going, like once you reach beyond your grasp, you go somewhere else. Like there's like you get to a different place, um, which maybe is a digression, but it also feels like, I don't know, it feels like you're, it
Hmm.
feels like more grounded than a digression. Like you go to a place instead of, um,
Maybe that's like
yeah,
freedom.
yeah,
I think
maybe
you feel free when you go beyond language.
when you go beyond your understanding and end up in
Yeah.
a place.
Yeah. When you lean into like beyond language and like feeling good as opposed to like language and trying to make sense.
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe that's just too reducible, but
But there's like a difference between like, I feel like now I'm thinking about the difference between like sense and understanding. Like I feel like you can understand something that doesn't make sense.
well,
Or
sense is
you
also
can,
about sensing. Like you have to
that's
like
true.
sense all things and understanding. It's just like I get it.
Yeah,
Does anyone have a
I get it.
question from this talk? Oh, Vida has a question. What
Let's
lets you
know.
know it's time to make a drawing? Oh,
Amazing question. I think that's for you.
uh, you could answer it too. Um, Drawing. I think for me that's like point of start. Like when I have an urge or desire to do anything, I think I start with drawing or painting. I actually don't know what the difference between drawing and painting. Um, like in the process of doing I mean, but yeah, I think to me those things are always like a point of like I rely on them to like get things started. Um, do you have anything?
Me?
Yeah, yeah, they're not. Yeah, do you have any?
Well, I feel like what you said about urges, you just like do it when you want to, you know, kind of thing.
Like when you have like yeah, like I think like there's like if when there's like a feeling that's like really strong or
Yeah,
subtle, I think yeah, like
it's a really strong or subtle.
all kinds of feelings. Like I
Uh-huh.
think you uh can start with like but certain feelings like I think I lean towards like writing more. Wait,
I feel
sorry.
like, wait,
Yeah, go ahead. You finish your thought.
I think that when I don't know what I think is when I write. But I think when I know how
Hmm.
I
What you
feel
feel? Right.
is when I paint or draw.
Okay, I think it's great segue into the next question. Izzy asks, if you had to choose, would you rather only communicate through visual art or through spoken slash written language for the rest of your life?
We got
Um,
a would you rather.
yeah. Um, can I actually quote what you said early or the other day?
Who, me?
How, yeah, you were saying that uh visual art and written language works differently because like to you, written language was more like sonic.
Mm, I said this the other day.
And I think that really resonated. Like, I think it's such a different form of
Mm,
expression,
yeah.
and like they both satisfy like different things.
Hmm.
I think I gotta say, I think writing feels more cathartic to me than drawing or painting.
Right.
What about you?
What I would choose, what I would rather.
Yeah, would you rather? What would you rather?
I don't know. I feel like I kind of want to say spoken and written language because I don't know. It's just more efficient, you know?
More efficient.
Or like I feel like I like get further in my thinking in that way. Or I don't
Hmm.
know. But
But isn't
maybe
visual art more effective?
like in terms of communicating yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
That's true. Yeah, so is it a matter of like effect? I don't know. Is that what efficient means? It's just like faster, efficient, you know?
Yeah.
But like this does make me um think of that there's like it makes me think of like that text from our show at Hearth.
Hmm.
And like how Tiziana writes about, so everyone, we have the show at Hearth, you should come.
Everyone go see Hearth.
Yeah, it's up until May 10. But and Tiziana Lamelia has like a text, a poem in it about intuition. But she like writes about like go intuition, like getting to the same place as it's like the first thought she had, she would have ended up in the same place if she like went
Mm.
through like this whole process. Anyway, to me, like visual art or like visual communication and like written language is like the same. You like end up in the same kind of place of like understanding something, but one is like way more direct and the other is like pretty roundabout. So
Wait, writing is way more direct?
yeah, I think writing and
Um,
speaking and sound to me is like feels more direct.
hmm.
But I think that's usually because there's like someone else there, you know?
Listening, reading
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
inherently. Like you like write or you speak to be like listened to. I
right.
don't know. I don't know if I'm always like making a gesture for someone else to look at it.
Cool. Any other questions, anyone?
Yeah, five more. Y'all have 5 more minutes.
You wanna hear us talk about
This is
visual art and written language?
yeah. Does anyone need any advice?
There were a lot of struggles in this project too.
Do you want to write up? You want to speak about your struggles?
Um, I think I no, I just thought of like I remember switching gear from like I must make prints, I must do printmaking to like, oh, why am I oh wait, there's oh,
Oh, lol. Where is that?
I found it.
More.
Do you keep a diary slash journal? And if so, what's your style? Daily, mainly for venting, sporadic, etc. Um, I don't really have a diary or a journal. I just write things down on my phone now.
Mm.
I think that's like most people now on their the most like chaotic notes app. What about you?
I used to have a Google Doc in my
Hmm.
Google Drive
Hmm.
called Desire.
What's in it?
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, venting, sporadic venting, etc. That's what's it.
Oh,
That's what's in it. But yeah, I feel like I don't I guess I don't keep like a daily thing, but like I do write when I feel something very
yeah.
intense and like kind of messed up, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I in my notes app I have like few things pinned at the top and
Yeah.
one of them is like a dictionary, like words I look up.
Mm.
And then the other is a movie journal, which I haven't used in a while because I haven't seen a movie. And the other is like notes about studio work, and
Yeah.
the other was
Oh.
notes about, I call it hypnagogic or
Mm-hmm.
something. It's like
Like before
something you're,
sleep.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I do keep like a studio journal, actually.
mm,
Like I have
yeah,
like uh I do write. I try to write in the studio
yeah.
when
I
I'm
come back
not
to it a lot too. Yeah, surprisingly, that one.
the studio journal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when I want to like title something, or yeah, I find it fun to read actually, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to like writing about your day,
Yeah.
which I would never want to read again.
Let's see, like this is I feel like this is kind of answers the other question about like would you rather communicate
Oh,
through written or visual? Like when I'm like, really
right.
have something to think about or that I want to process, I like always just
Mm,
write it over,
right.
draw it out, I think. But maybe I
Yeah,
should try
you're
and
right.
retrain my um my path, my brain path.
No, I think writing slaps, definitely, a lot of
Writing
times.
slaps.
Yeah.
All right. I feel
Oh, it's over. Thank you.
it's over.
Thank you so much for listening. Oh my God.
Yeah, thank you so much. I kept thinking of, and like for me personally, it feels like this fundamental distance sometimes between expressing and feeling. And like even when
Mm,
you're talking about some of the struggles of putting this work on this mulberry paper or like different techniques or yeah, between writing and drawing, it feels so much like that. Or like between
mm,
mind and body maybe, or maybe things less
Mm,
mm,
categorized, but
yeah.
it felt like that to me.
mm.
Um, yeah,
Universal creative struggles.
yeah, and I always admire people who have more of an inclination to journal, because it feels like maybe having conversation with yourself or putting your thoughts in order that is material. And I'm
Yeah.
very irregular with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's better than
Um,
regular.
it's it's better than not at
I
all.
think less of, yeah.
Better than not at all. Also, like
Yeah.
not too structured where it becomes like
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
you do this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, thank you so much for that and for sharing all of that background on the work. It's a really great piece. I also appreciated how the poem and writing at the beginning is mirrored and like
Hmm.
hearing why you made that decision. Was really cool. And it wound up working out for the theme.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention actually all the drawings are also mirrored too, technically.
oh,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, I also liked, yeah, you showed pictures of some of those larger works
Hmm.
you made. I was like, ooh, ooh.
Joe, you
Yeah.
should go see them in person. You should go to Aubin Studio.
In
He's in
Guelph.
Oh,
Ontario.
yeah. Is your studio in Guelph or is
Yeah.
it? I would like to.
Yeah, come on by.
Um, and yeah, thank you for everyone for being here today or tonight, wherever you are. Christian's coming to us from Japan. Just FYI,
Good
time
morning.
zones.
Thank you, 11 people. We love you.
We do love
Thank you so
everyone.
much. And if people are in Toronto, make sure to go to Hearth Garage. I think the show you are both in is up until May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So make sure to go see that. And thank you again from everyone at sea. We hope the rest of your day brings you some of what you need.